On this week's episode, we talk all about travel.
We talk about traveling with low vision, from air travel to buses and road trips and more.
So, stick around.
Hi, and welcome to Rare with Flair.
Two 20-somethings with the same rare disease who are just out here living our best lives. I'm your host, Casey.
And I'm your host, Cassandra. All right. What's up? How's it going?
You know, it's going good. It's going really good. I'm always happy on the days where we can record the pod. You know why? Because we haven't even talked very much in the last, 3 days, which is a record.
It's a shock.
And so this is, our time to talk, I feel like. But I had to ask you about your crafts you've been doing lately.
We've been getting crafty. Both of us have been getting crafty.
Both of us have been getting a little crafty, but Cass made these really cool moss crafts. Do you want to explain?
So basically I got shadow boxes, which, if people don't know what those are, they're the deep frames that you can put things inside that aren't photos. On sale from Michael's, and then I got bags of just preserved moss, and it's literally so easy. It looks super cool and requires basically no skill. If you can use a glue gun, you just glue these chunks of moss places, and it turned out really good. It was such a blast. I made them last week, and they're hanging in my living room right now, and they're so fun. They brighten up the space. I'm so proud.
They're beautiful. It makes my woodland fairy heart very happy to see it, and I'm low-key jealous, and she told me I should make some, so I might just copy you.
She absolutely should, and so should everyone. I mean, they're seriously so easy. My neighbor has some, and she inspired me to do it, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. So, but Case crafts. She's knitting, you guys.
I'm knitting. The other day, Cass was like, how's your knitting going? And it took me a split second to understand what she was asking me. I was like, my what? My knitting, for those of you who don't say it the way it's spelled. Yeah, I'm knitting. It's really fun. I'm not very great at it. I do basic knitting, but it's fun. Also, speaking of knitting, I'm trying to segue. It's not a great segue, but I have to talk about the fact that I wear our merch every time I record an episode now. I'm wearing, since you can't see this, since this is an audio medium, and a lot of you are visually impaired that listen to our podcast, I am wearing our Rare with Flair sweatshirt because love the merch. It's no longer on sale, but we do have stickers and magnets. Shameless plug.
We sure do. If you go to Redbubble and type in Rare with Flair, I'll link it in the show notes, you should be able to find our little shop, and we have just some cute stickers and magnets. I have a magnet up on my fridge. I've got a sticker on my laptop. Is it narcissistic? Yes. We agree, no.
No, we agree it's not. It's on my fridge. It's on my water bottle. It's on my body because I'm wearing a sweatshirt. It's just everywhere. Just everywhere I turn is our logo, and I would not have it any other way. So, without further ado, do you want to step into today's topic?
Oh, yes. I think we can step in and fly away through today's topic. Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I was really going for it there. Okay, so we're talking... We're talking about travel because we feel like it's a pretty apt time to talk about this. People are starting to get back out there, including us, starting to travel more. We're vaxxed and ready.
Yes.
And, pre-pandemic, travel was something that we always really liked to do. And it's really exciting being able to get back to that, and something that we really love. And we kind of just wanted to talk about what that's like with low vision and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, hashtag vaxxed and ready. We always try to make our episodes go with the time. So we were in the summer is kind of when a lot of people like to travel, and especially after, getting vaccinated, a lot of people are getting back out there. So we're going to talk about planes. We're going to talk about trains. We're going to talk about cars. We're going to talk about all the ways of travel. First, we're going to start with the biggest one that might take the longest, because that is planes. Oh my
Okay, but
goodness,
wait,
Cass.
why did you miss the planes, trains, and automobiles that was
I
just
know.
ready?
I almost did it. I was like, copyright infringement. No. I know. I should have said planes, trains, and automobiles. That's a movie, right? Like, I don't know if I've
totally
ever
is.
even...
I have
don't
not
think I've
seen
ever
it,
even
though. I
Me
just
neither.
know it's a movie.
I was like, is it a book? Is it a movie? Is it both? Like, I know, like, anyway, but never seen it. We'll link it in the show notes. I'm just kidding. But anyway, planes. So much to talk about here. I don't even know where to begin. So Cass and I have both flown alone. And I kind of think that's what we'll focus on the most, since that's when you're with a family member, you can kind of rely on them to see things.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to talk about when I travel, and I want to ask you about this too, but when I travel on a plane, I get assistance at the airport. Now, I probably could get through the airport without any assistance. It just might take longer, and with assistance, it's just a lot quicker, and they take me right to my gate, and it's easy, although there are pros and cons to assistance. Like, do you use assistance at the airport?
So, yeah, it depends. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. If it's an airport I've been to and I have the time, then I will. But a lot of times I will honestly just like to navigate myself.
Okay.
But what sort of assistance do you receive? I don't think people may know what that means.
Yeah. Let me explain it. So basically, I just get an airport employee to walk me through. The good thing is they put you at the front of the line of TSA, mainly I think to make it faster for themselves. They don't have the time to wait in line with you. So they take you to the front of the line, then they take you to your gate, and then once you're at your gate, those people take over at that point, and they let you go on the airplane first and find your seat before anyone else gets on. And then when you get off, they'll help you find your luggage and help you find your ride and all of that. So they're just kind of navigating you through the airport. And I find it funny. I've talked to a lot of blind people who say that they always give you a wheelchair, which they do. It's very strange.
They do. I know.
You know, I'm clearly blind. I have my cane with me. I'm walking. I clearly am mobile, but they always bring a wheelchair. And I guess it's like faster for them to push me, which is like, fine, okay, fine. I'll take the ride. I don't really, sometimes I do. Sometimes I like deny it, but that is kind of a weird
No, it always happens.
service.
And I think that's part of the reason why I actually stopped requesting assistance, is because like sometimes they really want you to use the wheelchair. And when I travel with my guide dog, which is most of the time, it's not useful or practical for us to be able to do that because she's not trained to work with me in a wheelchair. So it's not. Yeah, and like I don't want her toes to get smooshed or anything. So a lot of times I'll just figure it out myself, and I rely on like the little bit of vision I have. Like I think we've talked about over and over how we use a lot of context clues to be able to navigate throughout our lives, and that applies to airports, at least for me. I know every airport is different, but in general, where things are going to be, I always like go in and I either check in at the desk where my airline, whatever airline I'm taking that specific trip is going to be, and then I maybe ask for directions, or I like stop and take a photo of the arrivals or of the departures or the arrivals, I guess, depending on what I'm doing. So I always take a photo, and then I try and see like, okay, what gate is my flight in? Which way is that gate? If I don't have much time, I'll ask the person at the gate just like, which way do I go? And then in general, people will help you and point you in the right direction. Of course, there's always like the off chance that you're going to get someone who's having a rough day.
Right. Right. So, you know what gives me so much anxiety, though, and I bet you agree, is when you're going through TSA and you're standing at the metal detector thing and they just like motion. They just motion for you to go through. Yeah. They don't say please come through, which like I get it. It's a long day and they're just like that's the problem with this world, is everyone assumes you can see, you can hear, you can walk, they assume you don't have a disability of any kind. And so like I know deaf people I'm sure go through this crap all the time, but for us it's like all these visual cues that you're giving us, and then they get mad at you or think you're being rude or think you're being aloof when you don't walk through at the time they want. And I actually have to tell a quick story about this. So I had a person assisting me through the airport, and we were going through the TSA thing, and she was very okay. Here's the thing. I know that working at an airport must be a high stress job. I definitely think it is. But I will say, and this is not calling out any airline in particular, I will say every time I've flown and I've gotten assistance, people seem really just agitated with me, and they seem rushed, and they are rarely very kind with me, and they just seem really annoyed and like I'm a burden, which is kind of like, well, this is your job, so, you know, I don't know. But anyway, this lady grabs my backpack off of my back and throws it on the conveyor belt before I could, like, say anything. And I knew my laptop was in there, and I know you're supposed to take your laptop out of the bag. But like, she threw it on there before literally I could say anything. So I go through the metal detector, I get to the other side, and the TSA people are taking a while looking through my bag. And the lady was like, why are they taking so long looking through your bag? Did you bring a drink in? And I'm like, no, I fly all the time. Of course, I know that you don't bring a drink, you know. But I was like, but my laptop is in there. And then she got really angry with me for not taking my laptop out, but she was the one. And I even said to her, I was like, well, actually, like, you took my bag off really quickly before I even had time to go through. So this is like that's the con of, like, being with someone. Also, if you want to stop before your gate and, like, get a snack or whatever, it's like, are they going to let you do that? Probably not, you know, so you'd have to find that on your own. And if you're completely blind or something that might be hard to do, I don't know. But anyway, I had one other thing to say with that, and now I can't remember. But yeah.
I think that, like, TSA is pretty tough. I, like, sometimes I've traveled with a cane, and sometimes I've traveled, like, a lot of the times I've traveled with Romana. And it's sort of different every time. It's a little, like, I don't know, I in general, people tend to be, like, a little bit nicer to you if you have a service dog. However, I have found more often than not, a lot of TSA folk who work there are actually very afraid of dogs. And I'm not sure if it's because there are a lot of usually the police dogs that are doing a lot of drug sniffing at the airport, and those are more intimidating dogs, and so, like, that's sort of their job. It's really interesting though, because this is hilarious. Romana has to get pat down every time.
Poor Ro.
Like, it's just part of the process, but it's hysterical because we walk through the metal detector. We have the same sort of like way of doing it when I got her, like, almost 5 years ago now at Guide Dogs for the Blind. One of the things that they would teach us is, like, hey, here's how you go through an airport, right? Because this is gonna happen. You're gonna have to do this on your way home, most likely. So, like, I won't go through the body scanner if I'm with her. And so I have her sit, I, like, hold her leash, and then I can make her leash longer, so then I walk through, and then I call her through, and then she beeps because her harness has metal on it. So then they pat her down, and it's hysterical because Romana loves TSA because every time she goes there, she gets free pats. While she's on duty.
She loves the pets. Oh, that's funny. Sorry, what?
Oh, sorry. I was about to say, like, sometimes she gets really friendly with the TSA people. She'll, like, try and lick their face. Like, it's so cute.
I bet nowadays TSA is seeing so many fake service dogs, and, you know, we won't even get into that, or I'm just gonna be mad.
No.
But I bet they're happy that she behaves well. But it's funny, they make you put your cane on the conveyor belt thing.
They
which
do.
I get it.
They have to scan it.
I get it, but then it's like you're alone without your cane, and then when they signal to you, they don't know that you can't see. I'm like, I wish that person on the other side had a visual indicator that I can't see, aka my cane, but it's in the scanner.
I know.
Also, I remembered what I was gonna say. Have they ever questioned what your monocular is at TSA?
I think they have, actually, you know.
They always are very, very perplexed by my monocular, and I think they think it's like, you know, I don't know what they think it is, but they'll be like, they'll take it out, and they'll be kind of looking at it, and then they've asked me, like, what is this? And, you know, because it does kind of look, you know what it looks like, and I bet what they think it is it looks like mace.
It probably, it does.
Pepper spray.
It does.
Because, like, especially in the thing I have it in, the little carrier.
So for those who have never seen it, a monocular is like a short little cylinder that we use to see things that are far away, like binoculars, but one. And yeah, I'm sure it does, but, like, they've probably never seen one before. So, you know what always gets flagged for me, though, talking about guide dogs, my dog's food always gets flagged basically every time. And I don't know why. Like, I'm allowed to bring it through. But I think what I started trying to do is, like, I put it in its own box so that they can see that, like, oh, it's dog food. Don't worry about it. Yeah. She's got a service dog. Like, don't, it's just part of the whole thing. And sometimes they'll, like, run those pads over it and test it just in case or whatever. But, like, they're pretty, large bags of food. So I guess it makes sense.
Oh, that's funny. And then once you're on the plane, I feel like once you're on the plane, there's not that much, like, visual going on except a few things. First of all, we were talking the other day about, like, sitting in the emergency seat, Like,
yes.
There's always that person.
Have you ever been in an exit row?
I don't think so. Like, they say, are you comfortable taking everyone, off the plane in an emergency or opening up the door or whatever? I don't even know what your duties are in that. But have you ever been seated in that special
Yeah, so
seat?
I've actually been seated in an exit row, and I had to raise my hand, and I was like, I should probably not be sitting here. And then I looked down at my guide dog, and they were like,
yeah, no,
probably not.
Probably not. I don't feel comfortable leading everyone off the plane. No thanks. But also, like, the safety, like, show they do where it's like, here's your seatbelt. We can't see that.
No, I literally never pay attention.
I mean, nobody does, really. But, like, I listen and hope for the best, but I can't even see. They're like, your pad is a flotation device, and this is how you blow it up. And I'm like, I can't see what you're doing, so I hope for the best. I'll, hopefully we never have to know.
Exactly. Hopefully we never have to use it, but if we do, maybe someone can assist us. I don't know.
Hopefully.
Like, we'll figure it out. Sometimes when I've been bored, I've read the safety card at the back of the seat, but, like, let's talk about navigation through an airport, though. Like, how do you find your gate? I feel like this is a common, like, this is, after TSA, this is the thing that you do, like.
Yes.
How do you do? I find personally that the signs are somewhat large.
Yes.
So they're usually hanging from the ceiling. And either I can stop and take a photo, or sometimes they're actually, like, fairly close to me and I can, like, just make out what they say. So that really helps. And, like, I've even stopped in, like, restaurants and asked, like, what gates are here? And then they'll usually be able to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, there's a lot I have to say to that, because I feel like gates, reading words is basically impossible for us on signs, but if it's just, like, one letter and a number, like, it is easier to make out. It really depends on the airport. Like, there was one airport I went to that was, like, 3 stories. It was insane. Ooh. I mean, like, really insane. But I feel like usually I am getting assistance, so they just take me there. But if I had to find it on my own, I probably could with, like, a monocular or my cell phone. I feel like finding the luggage place is the worst for me.
Really? So yes. I'm always looking for the little picture of the suitcase, which is usually, so, like, I find a lot of airport signs are made similarly, that it's, like, a dark background with white letters, often, not always. Okay. But, like, the contrast is usually enough that I'm like, this looks like a large white rectangle. It's probably the little suitcase icon. So that's honestly where, and also the word baggage, I find is really easy to spot because it's got lots of G's. Yeah. So, like, y'all, this is a peek inside our mind, okay? Like, the G's, like, they hang down. There are 3 G's in the word baggage.
That's true. 3 G's. Wait, but here's my question. So, like, finding baggage, okay, great. That's wonderful. It's finding the correct baggage outlet for your
hell.
plane. That's what I'm saying. That's what's impossible. That's what's impossible is the, like, conveyor belt for your plane. I have no idea.
I didn't like memorize my flight number, you guys. Like,
no, not well. And even if you did, could you see it?
No, I know. I try. Sometimes, actually, you know what has happened before? People will recognize me from the plane because, of course, they do, and they'll be like, "Hey, you were on whatever flight, right? This is our baggage carousel."
Oh, well, that's lovely. That's nice that they help you out.
But yeah, usually I ask like an airport employee. I'm not really ashamed of asking too many questions. I'm just like, hey, I got off this flight. Where's our baggage carousel? Like, look it up for me, please. Yeah, and you can
kind of follow the crowd too, which is nice. A lot of times the crowd is kind of going toward that baggage. But another thing that's really hard is when the gate changes. Like, have you ever been in that? Oh, that's a pain. Or like your time of your flight changes or something's changing. But when I'm sitting in my gate.
Story.
Oh, tell me the story.
But you can finish your thought, though.
Well, I was just going to say, like, when you're sitting in the gate and the gate changes, it's like a stressful situation, especially if you haven't realized that the gate has changed and you're just sitting there.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Wow.
Tell me the story.
Okay, so literally the first time that I was flying with my guide dog. So I was coming home from training.
Oh, gosh.
I had to fly. I really don't like the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. Like, I just don't. And our gate changed like 3 times.
Oh.
And it was horrible. And I had no idea where I was going. And so at Dallas-Fort Worth, they have like those carts where they'll take a lot of disabled people on.
Yes, I've been on one.
Yeah, the ones that beep really loudly.
Yes.
So like I was on one of those carts and they knew. And so again, it was helpful because people had recognized me from being at the gate, but then I got assistance to go from one gate to another. And then they moved back to the original gate and there were people passing by and they were like, hey, you're going to probably Columbus, I'm assuming. They're like, we're going back to whatever. And I was like,
oh, no.
So then the driver did like a whole U-turn.
Everything you're saying is reminding me of other things. Like my brain is going like in 80 directions. Because like, first of all, don't you always feel like a kinship with the other disabled people in the airport?
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
When they're like taking you on the plane first or whatever with the other people, you're like, oh, like I wonder, like, what, you know, it's
who
great.
are my people
and
here?
Who are my peeps here going on the plane with me? And then another thing that reminded me of is like when you have a really, really quick layover.
I've run in airports so much.
Oh,
I look like a mad woman, I'm sure, with my guide dog. We're like jingling down the corridor.
Jingling down. I literally like, that's why I need assistance sometimes is for those moments when, but
yes.
The crappy part about being disabled is you're the first one on the plane, which sounds like a great treat, but you're also the last one off the plane, unfortunately. So,
yeah,
you know how long
it takes us
people
so much
to get off a
longer.
plane. But, like, it takes all these other people so long getting their overhead baggage, and you're just sitting in the chair because they tell you, if you are getting assistance, they tell you to wait and be the last one on the plane. I always have this fear that I'm so short that I'm going to be behind the seat and they're going to not see me and forget me and lock up the plane without me or something. But
and you'll end up going to somewhere completely
I'll end up
different.
just going to another country. That sounds like a plot of a great Hallmark movie. Of,
absolutely.
Like, Casey at Christmas, like, flying to another area. But anyway, like, I'm always, like, the last one. And then when I have a layover, it stresses me out because I know it's going to take, like, 20 minutes for everyone to get off of the plane, and then I still have to wait and be the last one, even if. But the good news is about that is if they're assisting me, it's kind of their fault if I miss the next flight, and not really my fault.
That is true, right?
So that's kind of the so it's gonna make them really hustle, you know. But a lot of the times, I will be waiting on some assistance for upwards of 30 minutes. Like that's why you gotta get, if you want assistance, you have to get to the airport early, because I will get there early and wait for literally 30 minutes. And
yes.
they act as if they have never helped a disabled person before ever in the history of airline. Like, they're like, oh, you need help? Hold on. They, like, have their walkie-talkie. They're like, so-and-so, can you help? And no one is available. Not only is no one available, but no one is aware of this. And also, when I buy my ticket, I click on the ticket. I'm visually impaired. There's, like, literally a checkbox for that. And they never... Like, if it were just up to that, it wouldn't even matter, if that makes sense. Like, if it were just, if you're just relying on the check mark to, like, be helped, when you get there. You start from square one when you walk in that door.
You have to be willing to advocate for yourself if you don't want to risk getting left.
Yes, and this is why using a cane or a guide dog is helpful if you want assistance, because generally someone will come up to you and be like, hey, do you need help? And at that point, you're like, yes, I need assistance. So that check mark on the website when you're booking your ticket is a bunch of baloney, because it literally means nothing. Like, you still have to ask.
It's essentially
it's not like they have anyone prepared and waiting for you, ever.
Oh, no. I wonder, maybe if you buy like an expensive like first or business class ticket or something, like maybe they'll take you.
Maybe.
They roll out the red carpet just for you.
I need to try that out one day.
I know, right?
But anyway, I just got a little passionate because of how crazy it is. I've waited like 45 minutes before just to get assistance, so it's crazy. But at least you get to skip the line, so that's
it is true, yeah. So usually my tactic is often like look lost, and then they'll they'll let you cut the line.
I purposely went. You know the desks where you check your baggage.
Yes.
I purposely was walking right in front of those desks with my cane just to like, so I didn't even have to ask anyone. I just knew they would say something to me. Like, I was like, look lost. Walk in front of the desk.
You know, seriously. And I've done that before, and it usually, like, it often works because, you know, they're like, you're kind of sometimes in their way and you don't necessarily mean to be. But, like, still, they're like, oh, well, I guess, like, we should help you. And then I feel like they feel more inclined to help you because then they're like, oh, clearly she needs assistance. I don't know. It's silly that we feel we have to prove ourselves, but at the same time, like, in a situation like this, it's like we need what we need and we need it in an expedient amount of time because we are clearly like need to get somewhere. So sometimes it like we just need to make our point known.
Oh, yes. And then after the flight at the very end, finding like your Uber or the taxi line.
I have
also
had
a stress.
Such a struggle with that. I was telling Case, I had this like nightmarish trip to Reno for a conference one time, but I arrived pretty late. Like it was an evening flight, and so when I finally got there, it was like almost midnight, I think, or around midnight. And I was expecting the hotel shuttle, but apparently they stopped running at 11, and so I kept walking back. I like hailed in a Lyft, and they were waiting for me, and I kept walking back and forth. I'm like, where are you? I walked like all around it was ridiculous.
That just gives me stress. That gives me stress hearing about it because we've all been there, and like it's impossible to find a car at the airport. There are so many cars. It's impossible.
So many cars.
So it's really nice when you have a friend or someone waiting on you there, but I mean, I've had many times where I've had to like get a cab or a car from the airport, and it is not fun. Yeah. So
it's tough. And like, you know, traveling is already a little bit stressful, and then like with a disability, it's a whole other layer to it. But I will say, like, personally, I really love being in airports. Casey and I were talking about this when we were planning. I love being in airports just because I love the feeling of like, I don't know. I'm like, you know, by nature, I'm a really like independent person. And so like, I love the feeling of feeling like, oh, I'm free. I'm navigating. I'm going somewhere new. Like it feels very adventurous to me and almost a little like romantic, like, ooh, whisking off into like a new location, you know, whatever, sitting in an airport Starbucks. Like, I don't know. I really enjoy it.
They're one of my least favorite places on the planet Earth that we live on. I'm fine with airplanes. Once I'm sitting down on the plane, I'm like, I made it. I'm here. All is well. I got on and I'm getting to my destination no matter what at this point. But the actual airport experience, it stresses me out. And I feel like after COVID and after not traveling for a long time, I'll be so happy to be back in one and just be grateful to be in one. So I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, but they just bring me stress, and they're not like the relaxing experience I would hope. And I've been like stranded in you know, just like for hours in airports, sleeping on the chairs, and I don't know. Not a fan. I like that you romanticize it though. I'm trying to really actually like side tangent. I'm trying to really romanticize everything in my life that I don't like. So like, you know, like trying to like see the good and like make it like better, and even like certain weather for me, especially like rain and snow and stuff, I'm like, I'm gonna romanticize this and not like hate it. And so maybe I'll try to do that about an airport, you know.
I mean, like sometimes I like to pretend like when I'm in an airport, like I'm in some sort of a novel, you know, like
oh yes I do like to pick out my outfit. I like to think of my travel outfit. I'm very into that. I'm like, what am I gonna wear on the plane?
I know, and like sometimes it's just something comfy and practical, but sometimes I like to look cute on an airplane because it makes me feel like I'm going somewhere special. Even though when I finally got there, I still feel like garbage because you were on a plane.
I know. For me, it's always like cute and comfy at the same time, like, you know, like matching suit of sweats or something cute.
I love that
Love
so
it.
much. Well, that was our planes, but we want to talk about like cars and automobiles and being on maybe road trips. So what is that like for you? Like mostly with friends, right? We're talking. Obviously, we can't take our own road trips.
Right, we can't drive. If you're new here, hello, we're blind. But I really like road trips a lot. I am obsessed. Like I love the whole thing. I love the music that the playlists you make. I love going to the gas station and getting snacks. Like I love it. I love a road trip. stopping at weird places and all that along the way. I feel like with friends, obviously we feel the need to do this on road trips and just in everyday life, which is paying for gas. Like we definitely need to chip in. And I feel like most people do this on road trips if they're not the one driving, I would assume, especially if it's like a very long drive. But, you know, we're used to paying for gas for our friends because that's part of our everyday life. But so we do that. And what about you? Like, how do you, I will tell a quick story, but first I want to hear your, like, how you feel about road tripping.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of road trips in my life. I think I like them maybe a little less than you do. I like being in the car, like, after, I don't know, I can probably put up with a long flight because I know, like, you know, it's generally faster than going somewhere by car. And so, like, after a while, I'm, like, kind of fed up of sitting in the car. The nice thing is, though, like, I do get to, you know, I get to use my phone. I get to, like, it's not as loud as a plane. Like, there are a lot of, like, upsides to it. But the sun in the window drives me absolutely bonkers on a road trip.
I see.
But it is really, really fun still. I do love, like, the playlists, the rest stop fun, you know, like, there's always fun at rest stops.
But what about when you're on a plane and you have a stranger by the window and they leave the window open the entire plane? Because that drives me, I mean, the sun is awful in that situation, too. And I'm like, close the window, please.
Honestly, I've, like, deadpan asked people, like, I'm sorry, like, can we close the window shade because, like, it really hurts my eye. Like, I don't care. Like,
good. But some people, like, their dream is to, like, look out of the window of the plane, so I don't want to crush their dreams and heart and soul. And, you know, I'm like, but I hate that. But yeah, for me, chronic pain, though, like, stepping into our rare with Flair, like, chronic pain on a road trip is brutal. And an airplane, to be fair. But a road trip, if it's a few hours long, I was such a wuss on my last road trip that I went on recently with my friends. We have funny videos of, like, my two friends in the front seat, like, singing. And I'm sprawled out laying down in the back because my shoulder was hurting me so bad. It, like, it's bad. But I have a funny story really quick, though, about being blind on a road trip. So you know how there's so many, like, road trip games that require vision?
Yeah.
Of, like, spot this kind of car or whatever. So,
like, license plates from different states.
Literally, yes. My best friend was driving this car, and this was a few weeks ago, and she knows me better than literally anyone, and, like, she's very aware of my vision. And we joke about my vision a lot. Like, she's on that level with me. Like, she knows I can't see, like, very well, you know? And we're in the car with me, her, and one other friend. And she's like, okay, we're going to play a game, everybody. We're going to go through the alphabet. And when you see the letter on a sign outside, like the letter A, and then we'll move on to the letter B, and we're going to read the signs. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? And she still didn't understand. She was like, what? And I was like, is this a joke? And she was like, what? It's a fun game that I play with my family. I was like, it literally took her a while. And I finally was like, I'm blind. And it was so funny. She was like, I forgot you're blind. And then she said, oh no, because you're going to go tell Cassandra and she's going to think I'm a bad friend. So that was funny. But anyway.
I don't think that she's a bad friend. She's actually really cool, but it totally happens.
Then they played, though, and I was like the judge, even though I couldn't actually judge.
Actually, you know, sometimes in the car, have you ever seen the movie Christopher Robin? You know, the live action one?
No, I haven't, but I wanted to.
Oh, it's so cute. You should totally see it.
Oh, I love Winnie the Pooh.
So Winnie the Pooh, like, he's on it's like Christopher Robin grown up, and I'll say it without too many spoilers, but, like, he's on a train in England with, like, Winnie the Pooh, and Winnie the Pooh's like, I'm gonna play a game called Say What You See, and then he's like, house, tree, cloud, and I'm like, sometimes I do that, but with only things that I can see, and I'm just like, teal house, like, you know, just like fun colors of things, or like, aww, pretty tree, and then like
we should play that like, game, which is think like, oh, there's a cloud. Yeah,
fun cloud. Like,
I love that. Pooh Bear giving us inspo.
I know, actually. And so one thing I feel like it's sometimes fun on road trips. I was recently on, like, a day trip with some friends as well, and so one thing that, even though we can't switch off and drive at night, if it ends up being like that, we can take turns trying to keep the driver awake.
Yes.
So on my last trip, it was a like total blast because whenever our original driver had switched off and he was taking a nap, but we switched off and then we started like just cranking out like all the show tunes. We sang Disney songs, like just so we could like stay awake, because honestly it would be really tough if you were the only person awake in the car and you were exhausted. So that's one way that we feel we can contribute.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've done that before too, for sure. So we also wanted to quickly touch on subways and city buses, because no, you're not necessarily traveling like out of town on these things, but it is a form of travel, and it is a form of like independent travel that we've done before. I mean, I've done both the city bus and the subway. I think I have more experience with the subway from being in New York for a few years, and you have more experience with the city bus.
Totally.
So if you want to chat about your city bus experiences.
Y'all, I love the bus for all that it is. You know, it's got its moments, but like, it's what my city has to offer, and like, if it's a form of independence, like, I'ma take it. It's not perfect, but I love the bus. I take it, at least a few times a week. One thing I have started to make more frequent use of again, so I used to do this a lot. We had a version of it at Ohio State where I went to college. But I haven't been in college for a while, and then a year of that was gone for the pandemic. But I've been trying to take a lot more paratransit. And so for those who may not know or don't have it near them, paratransit is basically like another form of the city bus. It is generally provided through like the city that you live in. And it is specifically for like disabled people, kind of a door-to-door bus service. In general, it's like fairly affordable, like the bus, and it's really nice because like it's cheaper than an Uber, and it's available and like a little bit less flexible, but it like saving money and like knowing that there's someone that could help you. That like, I know for a fact that every time I take a paratransit ride with my guide dog, I'm not gonna get rejected. Because this is, like, what it's for. Like, it is for disabled people. Yes. Like, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to... Sometimes... I've had funny experiences on paratransit where the drivers will ask me, like, where is it? And I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. Like, I gave you the address. Yes. Sometimes I'll tell them if I've been there before, but sometimes I've never been there before. I don't know what it looks like. Like...
Oh, no, I couldn't do that. I'm not good at that.
So,
that's how Ubers do that too, and I'm like, I gave you the address. Please, I can't help you there.
Just like read the signs, but
yeah.
But so the general city bus though, so like paratransit is something like a little bit different, more like an Uber, but also like a bus. Just taking the bus, it's funny. I'm very comfortable with it. Obviously, you get like fun bus people.
Yes.
I've gotten like a lot of very interesting encounters on public transit, as I'm sure you also have with the subway.
I could have a 3-hour podcast up about it.
Just about my experiences on public transit. But in terms of trying to like get off at the right place, like I find that most drivers in my city are fairly aware of blind riders, which is quite nice because, if you're at a bus stop with like multiple buses are coming to it, different lines, they will almost always stop directly in front of me and like yell out the name of the bus line.
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
The number 2. And that's
great.
So nice and helpful. And usually sometimes I'm like, oh no, I want like the 31 or whatever. But like I really appreciate that. Also, like sometimes when I get on the bus, the driver will ask like, where are you getting off? Or they'll tell me where the seat is. They don't always do that. They don't always ask where I'm getting off. Sometimes I'll just tell them I'm getting off at this stop, even if they don't ask. And sometimes a lot of the times I'll rely on like the stop announcements that are like playing out on the bus, but sometimes the volume is turned like all the way down.
Oh
and
gosh.
I have no idea.
Oh gosh, you just brought back horrible memories. Yeah. I forgot that was a thing. I would be so stressed when the announcer wasn't working because I couldn't see, and that's the only way I knew when to get off was when they said it over the loudspeaker.
Yeah.
And a lot of times either people would be too loud talking, or it just wasn't working or whatever, and I like was trying to count the stops, but I would lose count, and then oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
right. And with the bus, like they don't always stop at every stop because they only stop when someone pulls the cable or when someone's waiting to get off or to get on. So like I would count the stops, but it doesn't always work like that. So like I actually just had this experience like almost like maybe a little over a week ago where I had already told the driver where I was going, but she seemed, I don't know, she's kind of absent-minded. And so she literally passed my stop. And it was like 2 stops away when I'd asked. I'm like, can I get off at this stop? And she said, sure. And I was really glad that I do have some vision and I'm familiar with my city because we were like downtown and I was like, I shouldn't be down. Like I wasn't trying to go downtown. I'm like,
oh no,
I'm sorry, did we pass my stop? And she was like, oh, sorry.
Oh no. Yeah.
But in general, like I also like make a ton of use of my phone. Like the Maps app on my phone is just super helpful. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What about your experiences? Sorry, I just like totally went off on a tangent, but I really love the bus, you guys.
You ride it a lot and you have a lot of experience with it. Like my public transit, especially where I live, is basically non-existent. I don't use it really here. But yeah, I did use a lot in New York, and all of your stories are so like relatable to me, and I enjoyed it. I rode the subway every day to work and just like to hang out with people or do whatever I needed to do. And I really did enjoy it. I mean, it gave me independence, and there were weird people and people that like fell asleep on top of me, and like one time a guy had something fall out of his mouth onto my lap. And there were many, many weird experiences. I mean, there are so many more where that came from. I can't even tell you. And there were times where I missed my stop, just like you, and, you know, things like that. But for the most part, like, I really liked it. And, like, especially, like, my commute that I did every morning, it was the same. So I knew where I was going, and I wasn't, like, stressed about trying to get off at the right stop or whatever. And I went to church every day the same, or not every day, but every Sunday the same commute. So, like, those places where I went every time the same, I knew. But, yeah, with new places, it was tricky sometimes. But overall, yeah, I miss it. I mean, I miss New York in general. Like, not to the point where, like, I want to go back. But I just, because I love where I am now. But I just miss, like, aspects of it. And I did really like the public transit. And, I mean, there were certain times, though, where it would be so smushed together. Like, oh, it was a little... Ugh. You were, like, in somebody's armpit, quite literally. But... But yeah, so...
Oh, really quick, though, I wanted to tell my story about how once I took a crosstown bus.
Oh, yes.
And I'll try and make it quick since, y'all. So the only reason I did this was I was in college and I had to go to an interview in Indianapolis, which is not that far away, but no one could take me, no one could drive me, and there are no direct flights because it's not that far, but it's like just far enough. So my parents were out of town, like they were literally out of the country, and so I had to find a way to get there. No one could take me, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna try and take a Greyhound. First and last time I will ever take a Greyhound bus by myself. It was like it was a 1-day trip because I had to, you know, it was just an interview and I didn't want to stay the night, so I, like, took it there and I took it back. But, like, y'all, Greyhound stations are never in, like, a good part of town. They're always in a shady part of town.
Yeah.
You're always there, like, early in the morning or early at night or, like, really late at night is what I mean. And, like, it was just really, really, like, concerning. Like, on my way there, like, the person next to me was, like, man-spreading like crazy and, like, touching my leg, and I did not like.
No.
There were a couple people that were definitely, like, very on some substances that got on the bus. No. And it was not, like...
Yeah.
It was very, very unnerving as just, like, me, a single, you know, early 20s person at the time. Like, I was just very nervous. You know, people would talk to me because I guess I look friendly with a dog, but I almost felt like I was being followed. Like, it was not a pleasant experience.
No.
I would maybe do it again if I were with someone, but I would never really do it again alone. Even if it was, like, my only option, I might have to just, like, say no because the interview went well, but, like, the experience was not positive.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's kind of how it was riding the subway at, like, 1 a.m. Because I definitely did it, but only with friends. Like, I was never alone because, I mean, yeah, you do meet, it's not always the safest. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to fall asleep on my way back, but I had to like call
never.
like my brother, and then he was like, "Do not fall asleep on the Greyhound bus." Like,
Oh. But I wanted to quickly talk about like our travel experiences, like how old you were when you first traveled and how often you travel now.
yeah. Why don't you go first?
Okay, yeah. First time I ever traveled on an airplane was when I was 6 years old, and we went to Nevada just with like my whole family. And I had a hard time my very first time on the plane. Like, I have a lot of ear trouble on airplanes, and luckily I found my favorite product in the world. We will link it in the show notes. It is called earplanes, and it's these earplugs that like that make the if your station tubes don't work well, and they like, you know, I'm not a doctor, but they help, okay? They like do the pressure. They balance the pressure in your ears. And anyway, so I had a hard time as a kid flying. Didn't really love that. But now I don't travel as frequently as Cass does. I've actually never even traveled that much internationally. But I do travel probably like 3 times a year. And by travel, I mean that could be anywhere from an airplane trip to like a 3-hour car trip. You know, I'm kind of just meaning like, you know, 3 or 4 times a year I'll go visit some friends. I'll go to the various conferences I go to, of course, and then probably like a family vacation if we take one. So I do really like to travel, but I'm also kind of a homebody at the same time. So I'm not like always on the go, but I do enjoy it every once in a while. But I always am happy to get back home because I like my schedule in my house. So what about you?
Yeah, I have traveled like a lot throughout my life. My parents have always really liked traveling, and since I'm Puerto Rican, like we have a lot of our family, at least we did growing up. We have a lot of our family was in Puerto Rico, and so we would go there fairly often to see family. So the first time I ever flew, I had to ask my mom, because I knew it was going to be before I ever remembered. And I was just over a year old the first time I was on a plane.
Wow. Yeah, see, I remember my first flight. That's funny.
Yeah, I do not. I know that I was on a plane like a decent amount even before I can remember, just because like we would go there, and like we would even take we would take a lot of family vacations, and like whether, you know, regardless if I don't remember them, like, I still love having photos of those times, and, like, knowing that that's something that we did a lot as a family.
Yeah, I love that.
I just think that that's, like, a special, like, memory, and that's something that, like, if I ever have kids, like, that's something I would really, really love to do for and with them, just because, like, it was a special part of my childhood. But we've taken a lot of road trips as family. Oh, yeah. Especially when I was, like, around middle school. We went to a lot of, like, we're kind of nerds in my family, so we love a historical or like learning vacation. So like we'd go to like lots of national parks, and
I
like,
love that. I'm
Colonial
totally
Williamsburg and things like that.
I've literally been dying to go there.
It's so fun. You should go.
Is it not up my alley? Like, is
it's
it not
so
like
up
such
your
a
alley.
Casey thing? It is so, like, I could like live there. Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
but
so.
Yeah.
We did all kinds of stuff. Like, we would go to the beach, but it was mostly like if we were in Puerto Rico, because we were there visiting family. Sure. But like we love those kinds of like nerdy learning vacations where we'll like go to a national park, and like we would do like the little junior ranger packets where like we would learn about the history and things. So those were always sort of our vacations. I still love to travel a lot. I'll still travel with my parents, even though now I'm like an adult and I have to pay my own way. But like my parents really like doing like guided tours, and so I love that too, because again, it's very learning. I love to feel like I get to know the city that I'm in a little bit, even if we're not there for very long. So you know, I already have like 5 flights scheduled for the rest of the year. Like, I'm super excited. I'm ready to go and travel. And like a couple of those are like visiting some friends. Like, I'm gonna visit my brother and another friend of mine like over in the East Coast, which I haven't been to a lot of the East Coast states aside from like New York, like Northeast, you know. So I'm excited to do that. Because she lives in New Hampshire and I've never been there before. And like, you know, I'm looking forward to, like, girl, I planned out so many of my vacation days through like 2024. Like, I'm so excited to...
I kind of have too, actually. My 2022 is like already planned.
I know, right? Like, sometimes our travels, and like we've mentioned this before, like they're for like conferences.
Yeah.
So I am already like super stoked for conference next year because I get to see Case.
Yes, I'm so excited.
For those who didn't remember, we're not in the same state.
Right, we are not. Contrary to popular belief, we do this on FaceTime.
We sure do.
But we are going to play quick rapid fire game. And this one is fun, so don't turn that dial because this one is like more about our travel experiences, quick travel questions that are going to be really fun, I think. So, first question. What is the closest and the furthest place you've ever traveled?
I mean, I guess closest, I can never knock travel in my own city. I honestly think it's really special, and sometimes you get to see places that you've never seen before. So we're actually taking, like, my mom really wanted to do this. She heard that, like, my city was doing, like, guided tours. So we're going to do that next week because she was like, I want to do that.
I love that.
But the furthest place I've ever traveled so far is I went on a tour after I graduated college, just like a quick like week and a half tour with my parents in Central and Eastern Europe. So the furthest place I've ever been is Budapest in Hungary. I really loved it. But I think I might top that this year if all goes well. We're trying to go to Chile, South America, wow. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's been like a dream.
That would be awesome.
Where have you been?
So the closest place is probably like Mississippi, which is like right below me and really close, and my grandma lives there. Furthest is probably one of the places I've been on a cruise, like the Bahamas or something like that. I'm actually not sure what the furthest is. I haven't even traveled internationally all that much, like I said, but I know in the past I like keep saying I love Disney World, and I do, but I actually have been to a lot of places in the States. Like that, it's not like I just go to Disney when I travel. Like I've been to a lot in the States. I just don't travel internationally a lot. My family, we did take trips like every year as kids, which was really fun, but we just didn't go out of the country a lot. My mom just has some health stuff, and we never could really do the long flights, and it's just like a lot. But yeah.
Awesome. All right. So what are your favorite domestic and / international places that you've been?
So I know I always say I love Disney, so I won't say that one, but I do love Disney. Before I moved to New York, I really did enjoy traveling to New York because I'm like a big Broadway person, and I feel like now that I lived there for a while, it like feels more like a second home than like a travel destination, I guess. But
Sure.
I mean, obviously now when I go, it's still travel. I also really love New Orleans. I love that city. I went to go visit one of my friends there who lived there, and it was in October around Halloween time. We had such a fun time. So I think those are some of my fave places. And I don't know, I've been to other places too that I really like, but I'll keep it at that. What about you?
New Orleans is on my list of places I really want to see.
Yeah.
I really would love to go. But yeah, so I also really love New York City. I have not lived there like Case, but it was always like my teenage dream was to like live in New York City. And even though I'm not doing that, I still feel like I get to, I still live in a city, like a mid-sized city, and take transit. So it's like part of that dream anyway. But
Definitely.
so I really love the vibe there. It feels so like, I feel very invigorated by the city. I'm very much a city person, so it's always exciting to me to be there. I mentioned this before. I lived briefly in Seattle for like 3 months for like the summertime, like a few years ago. I really loved being there. Their transit was amazing. It was very beautiful. I thought that like they had a lot of unique places around. It's very, it's a little bit, gentrified, a little expensive, but I really liked being there a lot. And I really liked, I don't know, I've loved being in like some national parks. Like they've just really blown my mind, like natural beauty. And it's really special that they've been preserved like that. Yellowstone is really phenomenal. If you've ever wanted to go or like you know, at least like a little bit, you should absolutely go. Like just seeing like wild animals roaming, like it's beautiful.
That sounds beautiful.
And then what about international? What is your favorite international place you've ever been?
I really haven't been to that many. Like I've mainly been to like beaches. I had fun in Mexico. That was fun.
Yeah? Where in Mexico did you go?
Don't ask. I was in middle school, so I don't even... Oh, gosh. If you said it, I might know it, but I'm not going to remember right now.
Yeah, I've never been to Mexico. But I mentioned I went to Budapest. I really liked being in Budapest. I would absolutely go back. There was like a very rich history, and it felt like a city with lots of character and kind of some grit, and I thought it was really cool to be there, and it was very beautiful too. Like the architecture was like very, very gorgeous. So that was one of my favorite international travels.
For a blind person, I'm weirdly obsessed with architecture. I know it's a visual thing. Well, you can feel it too, I guess, but like I just love old architecture. I'm so annoyed that America's like so new because I love the old stuff. What is the first place you ever traveled on a plane? I already answered this, that mine was Nevada. What was yours? Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, so what are your like dream places you'd like to visit? Again, maybe like international and domestic.
I think my dream international, I know this is such a like cliche answer, but I'll explain why it matters to me. My dream international would be London, because I love theater so much, and like Broadway is like the best of the best, but the West End definitely like rivals that of being like one of the best theater places, and I would love to go see some shows on the West End. And I also love shopping, and they have good shopping, and I just feel like it's just a Casey type place. Although I really like, I don't know, I love architecture, so I feel like Ireland or Italy or those places would be beautiful too. But yeah, and then in the U.S., oh gosh, maybe like the Grand Canyon.
I've never been to the Grand Canyon. So beautiful. It's so like it's like one of those things that'll like take your breath away. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Those are all. I think you cut out briefly, but like, did you say London?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Our connection's getting weird, but anyway. So I've never been to London either, so I think it'd be really like cool places. I mean, I love cities, so it seems like a really cool and fun place to go. It's been my dream. So I love traveling and seeing things that I could never see near me. And I love going to just places with very different weather than where, I get all 4 seasons here in Ohio, but it's like very landlocked in the Midwest. And so it's been a dream for so long to go to Scandinavia, like, Norway, Finland, Sweden. Like, I would kill to go there. I want to see the Northern Lights.
The Northern Lights, I would love to see the Northern Lights. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and speaking of weather, I would love to go to Hawaii. That's another dream.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. My parents went to Hawaii without me. Oh, so lame. But like they really, really loved it as well. They thought it was gorgeous. But yeah, I'd love to see just like giant fjords. Like I've seen some fjords. I went to Alaska. That was another place I really loved going. But like I want to see more fjords, y'all. I want to go to Osaka, Japan. I've heard it's beautiful and incredible and amazing architecture, and I love Japanese food. And domestic, I've always like wanted to go to Glacier National Park in Montana. That is like I've seen so many different photos. Like it's very, very gorgeous. Like incredible mountains and like beautiful lakes and things. And one place I've wanted to go for a while, I am hoping to cross off my list this year, and I want to see Boston. I've never been there, but I'm excited to check it out this year.
Oh, yeah. I would love to check that out, too. Okay. So, the last question is, and I might need to pull up a list of all 50 states, because we're going to say, out of all the 50 states, how many have you been to? And I did not prepare this.
I'm going to send you the one that I did previously. Okay. There was just, like, a list of the 50 states, and you get to check them off. So, like...
You can check them off. Okay.
While you do that, I will say my answer. And I've been to, I think, unless there's a state that I went to when I was like a little bit younger. I don't know that in any of our road trips we've spent a lot of time in some of these states, but I have been to 33 states so far.
That's good.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, there's just like some states I have like a little, like not really much interest in going to, but some states I have, but just never have gotten the chance. So again, this year I hope to, like when I visit my friend in New Hampshire and maybe go down to Boston, I hope to cross 2 of those states off my list, New Hampshire and Massachusetts, that I have not been to. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. I think like when you do road trips, you get to cross a lot of these places off, which is why I've been to places like South Dakota and Wyoming, and like they're beautiful places too. Like, by the way, like you should absolutely check them out. And we saw Mount Rushmore and it was like super foggy. And like it was really sad because we couldn't see the faces and we were just about to turn around and leave. And then the fog like cleared right up and we finally could see it, and it was like this like very act of God moment. But I'm mostly talking to fill the space while you
Yeah, no, I'm actually, this is such a good like podcasting moment where I'm like, you're incredible at filling the space. Okay. I feel like I have missed something, definitely. Because I feel like, okay. We're gonna just like say, you know how like sometimes you just forget and you've been somewhere that you haven't? Okay.
Yeah, well that's what I'm thinking. Have I been to Nebraska? I don't really know.
I know. Yeah, exactly. There's somewhere I'm like, I think I have. I've been to 22 states. Okay.
Sweet.
That's not horrible. It's
one of those Ohio.
No, I don't. Wait,
why haven't you visited?
I know. No, that's the thing of like, have I been to Ohio? You know? Like, I don't even know. I think I've been to about half the states.
We need to change this. Casey hasn't been to Ohio.
I don't think I have. I don't think I've been to Ohio.
Please come and visit, and you can
Have
stay.
you been to Tennessee?
Yes, several times.
Oh, well, never mind. Have you been to Memphis, Tennessee?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It better have been before you knew me.
No, totally. Yeah, we used to go to, so I've been to like, I mean, Pigeon Forge I know is like super like touristed, but we've been to Nashville. I've been to, Gatlinburg mostly because I was in the Smoky Mountains. I've been to, I think I'm not sure if we stayed in Knoxville, but like, yeah, and then we definitely have been in Memphis, like lots of cool music things. I remember like, I'm pretty sure I was in like 5th grade when we were in Memphis, and I remember taking photos on my like Motorola Razr phone.
Oh my gosh. I love
when we were in Memphis, so...
All right, friends, I'm losing you a little bit, but thank you for listening to our episode. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Travel some good places. Bye.